I am a native mechanical engineer. 10 years ago, I left the reservation and arrived to Phoenix, Arizona with $100 in my pocket, my mechanical engineering degree, and a 1989 Honda Accord with 250,000 miles on it. How did I get here? Well, it's a very arduous, inspiring story, which starts in Lapwai, Idaho. That's where I grew up. Lapwai is a native community on the Nez Perce Reservation. My dad is Nez Perce. My mom is Navajo. I'm actually enrolled Navajo, but obviously grew up in northern Idaho. And typical childhood, growing up, I played games, rode bikes. High school, I was a skateboarder. I played guitar, played RuneScape. I was a nerd, obviously, since I'm an engineer. And yeah, not too special. After graduation, I worked for a few years as a machine operator, and that was just not for me. And I eventually went to college at age 22, trying to become an engineer, and went through 5 years of schooling to graduate in May of 2015 from the University of Idaho. Go Vandals. And then decided, you know what, I'm going to leave the res and head for Phoenix, Arizona to start a career. And it really wasn't that straightforward. It's been a lot of luck, a lot of determination, a lot of trial and error, and just grinding. It's not very often you see a native. I don't know how many people know very many Native Americans, but engineers that are Native American, I think, is pretty rare. So I feel very blessed to be in the spot I'm at. And yeah, so 2006, I graduated high school. 2015, I graduated from college. And then of March 2016, I left Idaho. At the time, I had a really old 1989 Honda Accord. Had 250,000 miles on it. I finally decided I was going to go for it. I was going to leave the reservation. Packed all my stuff, threw away a bunch of my stuff that I didn't need, packed it onto this little car, and decided, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I think I have some family down in Phoenix, and some friends, hopefully, but I just need to go for it. Worst case scenario, I don't succeed and I come back to Idaho. And I end up driving down through Salt Lake City. I actually went to a powwow in Denver called Denver March Powwow. And I drove from Salt Lake to Denver. I almost got stuck in a blizzard. This was March, right, of 2016. I distinctly remember stopping in Rock Springs, called Wyoming, and my car almost died. It almost froze. And that was pretty scary. Eventually made it to Denver. I make some arts and crafts. That's how I kind of got by for the year that I, after graduating and finally deciding to leave. And sold some crafts there and got enough money to get to Phoenix. It took me 6 days. I drove 2,200 miles, $129 in gas at the time, because I'm an engineer. I track all this stuff. And 30 hours of driving, crossed the Continental Divide twice, and finally arrived to Phoenix with a $100 bill in my hand, and my degree, and all my worldly possessions in this little Honda Accord. Well, 3 days later, it caught fire on the freeway, and I lost that car. Luckily, I had a bro that came in clutch. He let me stay with him when I got down there. Like I said, I had no clue. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm stuck down here. Let's go for it. And I stayed with him for about 2 or 3 months. He left to California, so I had to find another place to stay. Luckily, I had another connection that let me stay. It was a old college buddy's auntie, and she said, well, you can stay as long as you pay rent. I was like, yep, fine, no issue, I can get a job. And I had applied to, of course, many places in Arizona. Didn't hear anything. It's brutal. You're not guaranteed a job, even if you get an engineering degree. Some people are lucky. I wasn't. I had to start from zero, and I needed a job. I moved in with her, and mind you, this was about 20 miles away from Tempe, where I ultimately wanted to live. And so I searched for jobs on Craigslist in Tempe area, and there was 3 that showed up. I had no idea what they were. The first one I listed said machine operator needed, no experience needed, and to apply in person. So that's the first one I wrote down. There was 2 others that I wrote down that were in the same area. Like I said, I'm new to this area. All I knew was Tempe. Okay, so I jumped on a bus, 2 hours to get there, applied in person, and got the job. Actually, I omitted some information because obviously this place wouldn't hire. I don't want to say would, but it would look weird if they saw somebody with a mechanical engineering degree applying for a machine operator job. So like I said, I needed a job, just any job to get by. And I had done machine operator work in the time span of, there was 4 years where I didn't, I just worked straight out of high school and I did the machine operator work and then eventually decided to get a degree. So I just told them I had experience doing that, and I had went to school for 2 years for mathematics, but didn't graduate. And they said, okay, yeah, we'll hire you. Didn't know what this place was. It turned out to be a plastic mold injection company where they made small plastic parts. It was kind of a mom and pop type place, very small, 10 machines, and they didn't work weekends, so that was kind of nice. And that's where I got my start. I worked night shift, 12 hours night shift, just making little plastic parts, opening machines, grabbing the parts, trimming them, putting them in boxes, and pretty basic stuff, making $9 an hour. But I was just happy to have a job. You know, I could pay rent and continue to apply for engineering or whatever. I had no clue what I was doing. I just was like I said, going for it. Well, I worked that job for about 6 months, and eventually, somehow, one of the QC auditors, I was talking to him one night, and I just happened to mention to him that I had a degree, an engineering degree. And he was like, what? Why are you a machine operator? I was like, and I told him what I just told you. So I left it at that. The very next day, the president of the company stayed over because I was working night shift. He stayed over a few hours and talked to me and said, hey, we heard something about you. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, why didn't you tell us? And I was like, well, obviously I didn't know. I didn't even know what this company was. I had no clue. I just saw the ad and I just been working. And he said, well, I want to hire you as an engineer. And I was like, okay, wow. So that's how I got my foot in the door to be pretty much start my career. And my career has been primarily in plastic mold injection for the last 10 years. And that job gave me all the experience I needed to become what I did now. So I started as an engineer. I had no clue what I was doing. He got a good deal, obviously, because I had started at $9 an hour. He gave me raises every few months or whatever, and it was I'm grateful to this man that he gave me the opportunity to actually get real experience, and I took the opportunity and ran with it. I became a processor, a mold setter, so I changed molds, learned how to process the injection molding machines, and then eventually did quality control. So I started measuring parts, reading blueprints, doing first article inspections, and just took on everything. Yeah, so I became a technician, quality control technician, mechanic, I guess you would say. Worked on the machines, hydraulics, mold setting, processing, and I was there for about 3 years. And then another opportunity came, and I jumped on that. That was a huge step. So kudos to that company. I don't think they no longer exist, but next company was a medical device company. So I went from this very small mom and pop type owned place to a multi-billion-dollar medical device manufacturing company, which was a huge leap in my eyes. Just going from this little sweatshop basically to a clean room setting and billion-dollar company with millions of dollars of automated equipment. It was pretty intimidating, but I had put my resume out there and got the job offer. So that was another life-changing thing. So I began as a engineering process technician, doing mold stuff, setting molds. But this company had more of an automation side, so I would consider myself an automation/process technician. I worked there for about almost 5 years. And, at any point I probably could have upgraded or got promoted to an engineer, but I had saw the culture that was there. So the engineers that were working in my department, would rotate. They would be like a revolving door. Every year there would be a new one, new lead, new senior automation engineer, manufacturing, and it was just the brutal side of business, right? I've seen upper management get wiped out completely and replaced with all new managers. So it was something in my mind that, I like being comfortable as a technician and doing my work when I do come in, clock out, leave, and never have to worry about it. And I knew that the trade-off, right, when you go blue collar, white collar, and I just wasn't prepared at the time. And I made good money at the time. I had unlimited overtime basically that I wanted, and I was just living. So eventually, time came. I got married, and I was like, I need to up the job. So that's when I became an automation engineer. A nighttime position came open within my department at that company, and I was a natural shoo-in because I already knew how to run the equipment. I already knew how to do the injection molding side, the automation side, and I had the degree, which was a requirement. So I went and basically talked to the hiring manager. He happened to be on the floor, and I went up and said, "Hey, you got a position open?" And I didn't think about applying. He's like, "You got a degree?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, apply." And that was probably the easiest promotion I ever got in my life. I mean, that was a shoo-in, right? Night shift. I was already working night shift and automation engineer. So, mind you, I have a mechanical engineering degree. So to become an automation engineer is pretty prestigious at the time to me. And I worked there, and they had promised potential raise in a few months on performance. But right when I started, things kind of went south with the company. They lost a contract, and half the machines basically stopped running. So I was like, well, I don't know if it'll be a safe investment to stay here. I have experience now. I got some automation experience, like engineering experience, and I decided to go somewhere else. So I started searching for jobs, and ultimately got another job as a plant engineer. So this was for a bottling company, plastic bottle company, and totally different aspect. So they still did plastic mold injection. They did blow molding, but I was in charge of like the infrastructure of the building, the air systems, water systems, also automation. They had automated forklifts that I had never seen before and learned how to work on. So that was another huge leap. I learned how to do project management and more of a leadership role. And that was a pretty big opportunity. I was there for about a year and a half. And then I went to another company, and then as a maintenance supervisor. So, I mean, this degree is probably the best investment I ever had because, I mean, automation engineer. Initially, I was a process engineer at the very first company. So process engineer, automation engineer, maintenance supervisor. And then now, the company I work at now I'm hired as a mechanical engineer. So I have all these titles. I'm a technician. Once you get into engineering and just, technician work too, there's a divide of engineers that are purely academic and don't know how to work on things hands-on, which it depends on who it is. Luckily, I have the hands-on skills because I was a technician. I like to always work on my cars. And it's just an amazing experience that I've gotten this far, considering, I'm a Native American. I've come from a small town reservation, grew up in poverty, and the school system at the time, the public school system, really didn't care about the graduates or the kids. I mean, yeah, they did, but I really never was pushed to do anything. Like I said, when I graduated, I didn't even want to go to college because I just thought it was a waste of time. When I was in high school, it was just like, if college is going to be this easy, and why should I waste my time? So that's why I went to work for 4 years as a machine operator at a bullet factory. And then while I was there, I was just like, I could do more. So that's when I decided to go back to college. And that's, like I said, now I'm here. So I just wanted to put this information out there. Because I just believe that Native Americans are just underrepresented in general. So I don't know how many natives this audience may know, probably not very many. And Native Americans that are engineers, probably few and far between. I knew like one out of the college, and I know a couple on my social media. So it's a very rare thing to be, and I just feel blessed that I've been able to do this. So that's just a little bit of my story, and yeah, I left the res with $100 in my pocket, made all this happen. I can definitely go into more detail about my career, my work, my time as a technician, how I got here and there, but yeah, I just wanted to say this, and thank you for listening.